Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and I, man, here from the Block Runner, MetaZone, Rovi, and MScribe. And today, we're going to be talking about NAT.
More NAT, dude. Imagine that.
I can't believe it. NAT again.
NAT again, dude. Well, if you're holding NAT, and if you like NAT, then you're probably pretty happy about this.
Yeah.
And if you're not, you know, we see those people on the timeline. You're very much not happy about this.
Yeah, we're NAT sufferables, apparently.
That's right. We've been given a new label, the NAT sufferables.
That's such a great band name.
Sure. I'll take it. You know, first we gotta increase our musical chops to even make the attempt.
Oh, we got AI for that.
That's true. So. Okay, the NAT sufferables, dude. This is very emo, you know. Screamo. We could bring Screamo back as a
like
genre.
it.
But yeah, so if you're sidelined, you may be questioning a lot of things. It's like, why am I sidelined?
After 2 years of talking about this.
Yeah, if you're watching our channel at all, hopefully you're not part of this sideline category, because I think we've put as much effort into trying to educate and inform our audience, you know, around this thesis of why NAT and DMT and all these things make a lot of sense, right? So you shouldn't be sidelined, for one. But if you're not, you know, a regular viewer, I get it. You're also being pulled by different forces of influence out there that are telling you, oh, no, it's runes only that you should be focused on.
Yeah.
Or it's this or that, right? So now, you know, the real force is the invisible hand, right?
Yeah, fundamentals is the force.
Fundamentals, but yeah, the invisible hand is the market. And the market is relaying and telling everybody that NAT has arrived. And right now, we're flirting with #1 token in the Bitcoin ecosystem. So
that's right.
Why is this happening? Let's break it down.
Yeah, let's take a look. So why now? Why not like a year ago, right? So right now is because Spiderpool, they just announced that BTC same block dual rewards is now live. Yeah. So that means that if you're contributing mining power to Spiderpool, not only can you go to the dashboard and claim your Bitcoin, but you can claim your Bitcoin and NAT.
Yeah, I should have pulled up that video of Fitzy. He showed what that looks like, didn't he?
He sure did, and we can look it up right now. Yeah,
let's look it up. So Fitzy, you know, Track Network, they did a nice little in-person demo of, you know, if you join this Spiderpool, this is the experience of receiving NAT as part of it, along with your Bitcoin.
NAT token. And then I think it was yesterday, they began distributing it to their miners, so miners are automatically now getting it in every single block. I wanted to show my support, so I did a little thing. So this is my Nerd QX miner, connected up to the dashboard, where I can monitor all of the hash rate and everything, and all the efficiency, and a load of other sort of nerdy stats. But then, this is the really interesting part. This is my Spiderpool account that I just created yesterday. I've so far mined a total of around 11 cents BTC.
Killing it.
Boom.
Boom indeed.
I'm also mining DMT NAT.
Crushing it. 72 whole NAT tokens, dude.
Yeah.
That's freaking cool, dude. Bitcoin's cool, dude. You see this little freaking fan next to your computer?
Yeah.
And you're just...
It's like it's all of a sudden it's getting hot in here, guys.
Yeah, you're mining? Really? That's what's happening? It's pretty interesting, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's just an example of someone switching to Spiderpool to mine NAT. And why NAT? Because it has a much, much, much higher upside than Bitcoin.
Right.
And so if you're a miner and you're already like contributing hash power, why not contribute to the, I guess, the pool aggregators that are giving you a second token back that has a higher upside?
Yeah. So the market has received the memo. They saw Fitzy's video and they reacted accordingly.
They sure did.
It's like, holy shit. It's no longer just block runner guys talking about something on their YouTube channel. There's real, tangible, supporting evidence that this is happening.
Yeah, we're real world like touch points.
Yeah,
on NAT.
Who would have thunk, dude?
I don't know. We've been saying it for a long time.
Yeah, well, the thunketh has arrived. We don't have to think anymore. It's very provable.
Yeah. So it's so provable that if you look at this chart is interesting because it does show the entire history of the NAT token. So the NAT token launched about a month prior to this candle here. And 20,000 people claimed this asset, and it was really difficult. You had to inscribe JSON data,
Right.
And then you couldn't inscribe the same JSON data as someone else, otherwise you just get ignored.
Because per indexing rules, right?
Yeah. And
the JSON data was a unique block.
it was a unique block, yeah.
Yeah, so you had to claim your blocks, basically.
And so that was about a month ago, and then it took about 1 week to inscribe all 800,000 blocks, or whatever it was. Maybe it was like 750,000. And then about a month later, it was actually indexable because it wasn't indexed on Bitcoin. It was just an experiment, right?
Thank you, Benny. Thank you, Benny.
Yeah, shout out to Benny. And so Benny indexed it, and it was finally able to be listed, and it was SuperX who listed it first.
Mm.
And then people were just putting out weird numbers as to like, can anybody buy this? And somebody did.
Yeah.
And then it just went down. So this is like a 60 million market cap, something like that is high. And then it just spent a lot of time down here. This is 88, 55, 88. That's when we directed NAT to miners. And then the first miner moved it, second, and then Spider Pool distribution.
Damn. Nice rundown, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is 2.5 years of blood, sweat, and tears
Yeah.
from the NAT community, right? If you're wondering if there's like anything left in crypto that's like organic and real,
Yeah.
this is it. This is not some sort of, this is not Rave DAO, right? Where like 90% of the supply or something is like, pre-bundled VC insider type activity stuff. Like this was a truly fairly distributed organic thing. And yeah, this is what it takes in those types of situations. Similar to Bitcoin, it takes a lot of time to build something organically as opposed to artificially. Though those can pump and dump in minutes.
That's right.
As we see systemically.
Yeah.
Right.
It's almost every token is doing that.
Yeah. And hence the reason why retail hates our guts.
Yep.
Because it's not a good look, guys, industry of crypto, to just keep fleecing each other left and right.
Yep.
Like, this kind of stuff is what I feel like is the cleansing kind of stuff.
Yeah.
This is what the people actually want and they want to be a part of.
Yep.
Just like Bitcoin. Right?
I agree.
So we got whales starting to notice.
Yeah.
Right?
So someone purchased a huge chunk of $58,000 worth of NAT. It was 400 billion NAT.
That's crazy. Yeah. And now people are starting to question, like, is there even enough NAT to go around? Right? Is there enough people listing NAT? Like,
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of buy pressure. Hence those God candles.
Yeah,
right?
this isn't the only one. So this is on Ordinal's wallet, but there was several $50,000 chunks purchased on Ethereum.
Yeah, what? Several?
Yeah.
That's where the big God candle happened, like last night, right?
Yeah.
Like while we were asleep. It went from like, I don't know, 70 million market cap to like 90 to 100 million somewhere around there.
Almost 100 million.
In like a single candle, basically.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, so interesting times, guys.
Yeah.
So we made a video a couple weeks ago saying NAT was on its way to 100 million. So ding.
Target hit.
Manifested, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, that doesn't mean it's over, right?
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about this thing on Bitcoin, but all of a sudden we're showing like an ETH thing. What is that about?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so the NAT token is from Bitcoin, like literally and figuratively speaking.
True.
And it is accessible on different chains. So it's been bridged to Ethereum. It's been bridged to Binance Chain.
Solana.
And Solana.
Thank you, Benny. Thank you, Wormhole.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep, that's right.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. And for builders.
Yeah, and so for the Ethereum side, there's 1.2 million in TVL. So this is a record high.
Yeah, this is great. This is what I love to see. It's like a nice, crunchy liquidity pool. It's like you can really sink your teeth in there.
Yeah, you can purchase $50,000 worth. And not hurt it too much.
Yeah, it's great. That's the whole point of decentralized exchanges, right? Because obviously there's a lot of pressure for centralized exchange support for this token, right? Everybody wants to see it because that's what Ordi did back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, Ordi was pumping too. It's like, well, to get those types of tokens to those multi-billion-dollar echelons requires centralized exchange coordination and stuff, right? But the whole premise of DeFi and DEXs is to kind of like
counteract that.
Yeah, where it's much more communal, open, permissionless, and that's kind of what we're witnessing here, at least on Ethereum initially. But this should kind of fester abroad.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think it's worthwhile to have access to the NAT exposure and support Bitcoin through separate chains, because as you're buying it on Binance Chain, you're actually supporting the miners as well. Because the arbitrageurs, they'll fix the price everywhere.
Correct. Yeah.
And I found this to be interesting. The total APR is 820%.
Damn, son.
Yeah, so I don't understand how this works, but it's pretty cool. It's a big number.
I'm glad somebody does.
Yeah.
Because they're providing liquidity, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is all good news. So much so that, yeah, as another prediction of ours, NAT will be the #1 token. Right now, it's currently positioned at number 2. So that means it flipped dog, boys and girls.
What a surprise.
What a shocker of an event, right?
Yeah. So Natoshi Sakamoto is saying the correct answer was 7 months. So he's referring to how long until NAT market cap overtakes dog. And it has already done so, 83 million, and then 73 million for dog.
Yeah, so, people take this different ways. Say, hey, you shouldn't be battling with runes or dogs or whatever. It's like, it's not really battling. It's just more like again, I think this is necessary. I think it's fundamental to like correcting course of our industry. It's like we need to support tokens with actual substance and not just like noise generators.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, horns just like making sounds.
Yeah, little loopties and kazooies and stuff. Like that's what's appealing about crypto.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's a place and a time for that, but again, we're in dire need of a cleansing, right?
Yes.
Where we've rediscovered purpose and meaning in things on chain. So NAT is the perfect vehicle for that. And the market is healing.
AKA inspiration.
Yeah, that's another word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's make crypto inspiring again, right?
All right, so we got Fitzy here. It says, so the top 3 Bitcoin tokens are today. Number 3 is Dog. Number 2 is NAT. And then first is Ordi. So we got Runes, Tap Protocol, and BRC20.
Yeah, so those are the 3 leading meta protocols on Bitcoin. We spent a lot of time covering these 3 on this channel. And yeah, all of them have their place in history and still their own use cases individually. In Tap Protocol sense, it gave the foundations needed for something like NAT to exist, right?
Yeah, so speaking of Tap, so when was the last time you shared the Tap DMT NAT 101 pager? And so here's a pretty simple document to kind of get your mind wrapped around what is the NAT token. We still get that question a lot. And unfortunately, you have to actually read and you have to convince yourself that what you're reading is actually true.
Yeah.
So it's called critical thinking.
Which is bearish. That's what I've been seeing a lot, right? It's like the reason why NAT's going to fail is because it's just too hard. We're just too dumb as a species, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, like, man, what a horrible perception of reality.
Yeah.
If that's how you think, like, humanity scales.
Yeah, horrible take on just humanity's ability to like figure things out.
And like appreciate actual innovation and problem solving and
Yeah, imagine you're an engineer at SpaceX and Elon was like, we got to build a rocket and we got to land it after we launch it.
Yeah, but
it's too hard.
Yeah, but Elon though, there's TikTok.
Yeah,
it's like, can't we just do that?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing, dude? We're good. We're good, bro. Let's stay here.
Yeah,
yeah.
And think about the inspiration that Elon had to do to get beyond those minds, right?
Right. Yeah, it's just a filtering process, right? People who think like that, they need not apply, right?
Yeah.
They need not partake in this mission. But
yeah.
Those with a few more ridges in their brains, a few more of those crevices, they're going to see things like this, read the documents, piece together the information and deduce that, oh shit, this is like a real problem. This is something that stands out from the pack, right? Therefore, I'm in support of.
Yeah. And
those people still exist.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, that's my type of people.
That's
dude.
your jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So NAT is built on the Tap protocol. And so it would make sense that the Tap protocol would go up as with NAT going up, and it has. And but the market cap is only $5 million, which is criminally undervalued.
I totally agree. Yeah, and I think it's, again, this is part of the mind poisoning of the space. It's because people don't even want to understand infrastructure anymore. They only are conditioned to analyze the memetics of a meme coin, basically.
Yeah.
Like, oh, how much TikTok engagement does this one have?
Right.
You know,
that's the fundamental analysis.
Yeah, that is the extent of like what we're willing to do nowadays. So, but back in the day, back in our day, us old heads,
2017,
us graybeards. Well, this is the shit we used to love and adore, like the protocols and the infrastructure tokens.
Yeah, I remember.
Because we understood, dude. It's like this is it.
Yeah, we thought we were doing crypto in that day, dude.
Yeah, I guess not. So a little bit of like I don't know, you're fronting the pendulum swinging back in that direction, right?
Yeah.
By understanding the infrastructure under it all.
Yeah, so let's continue here. So Track is the entity that built TAP protocol, and so this is a website coordination stack for AI, robotics, and digital money.
Yeah, it's also like the indexing provisioner for NAT, right?
Yeah.
The open source indexing is through Track Core. So they've done a little bit of a pivot to more of like an AI focus to kind of, make things more seamless for the AI agent economy that's
you should
brewing.
Yes.
Yeah, because the thesis is, Web 2's done a great job packaging intelligence into like a now mass consumer product. So where's the transaction layer going to happen and proliferate? Well, that's what Web 3 is for. Right?
That's right. Yeah, so Track has their own token here too. Market cap 4.7 million, but look at that candle though.
Yeah. So this is good. This is kind of a whole ecosystem here that, if you understand NAT and value it, there's more to just NAT, right? There's a whole ecosystem. And part of what we're not even talking about are the UNATs, right? That's also a whole other layer in context. That means NAT cats, royals, all that stuff.
NFTs, they have their own problems that we're going to be solving here, and we'll talk about that in a second. So Clean Slate Podcast, what is this about? We got Fitzy and we got Benny on the podcast.
So if anybody was wondering if it was a true human being behind all this, I was questioning that myself. I was like, there's no way Benny's like a human, dude.
Yeah, there's no way, right?
The amount of output and development he's done over the years,
it's
like far exceeds what we've seen from anybody else in the space.
Yeah, and then all the stuff that he's delivered too.
That's what I mean.
It's not just like ideas and concepts. It's like the actual products are delivered.
And most of this was done before, Opus.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why it was like really impressive. Yeah. Now in the Opus days, it's not that impressive.
Everyone's launching websites and all
apparently
kinds of stuff.
Everybody's cooking. Right? But so they got a podcast.
Yeah, so I don't think it's released yet, but this is the trailer for it, and it should be out pretty soon. So definitely follow this account and
what's it called?
The Clean Slate. Clean Slate.
Interesting. I like that idea too.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, let's clean things up, guys.
All right, Natoshi, another tweet here. Luxor.
Right.
Another miner in Bitcoin, the first USA-based miner to officially claim their 799 billion NAT rewards. Just occurred just a few hours ago.
Yeah, this is a big deal for a lot of reasons, right? Because people were questioning, is like only the East going to appreciate NAT or what?
Yeah, what's going on?
It's just Chinese only? It's like, well, no.
Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore, guys. Because, I don't know, we question it ourselves. Why is the Eastern demographic more...
progressive?
Yeah, whatever. Just more receptive to, I guess, new ideas. Who knows? But thankfully they are.
Yeah, I'd like to figure that out. I'm curious. Is it a culture thing?
Could be. I think it is a culture thing. Again, we talked about it, how AI has a lot of resistance in Western culture.
Yeah.
And not as much in Eastern culture. So this is a new thing, a new mental model. Bitcoin being utilized for something more than just, peer-to-peer money. It takes a little bit of like a, receptibility.
Yeah. An open mind. An open mind.
Yeah.
All right, and let's take a look at what that looks like on NatGMI. So we got Ampool was the first one to move it. ViaBTC, F2 Pool, Spider Pool. So Spider Pool recently announced that they are distributing the NAT tokens that they are generating.
Do you think we should add like a new column for that or something? Or
probably.
Something something to indicate like
Probably
distributing pool.
another column of like checkboxes of this is like engagement, and then another one for like distribution.
Yeah, something to.
I just don't think not all of them are pools.
Correct. They're not. It wouldn't apply to all of them. Yeah, we'll think of something.
So it's a weird. I mean, we could have like, some minus sign there where it doesn't apply, like not applicable.
Or like just like an asterisk somewhere.
So yeah, Luxor, latest one. They moved basically 800 billion NAT, and this is their current NAT balance, about $1,000. But Foundry, they're sitting on 1.5 million in NAT right now.
Jeez, that's a lot, dude.
Yeah, that's a lot of NAT. 7 trillion.
Yeah, so that's the end game, the big boss.
Yeah,
the final boss.
It's likely that they'll be the last ones to move
It is
NAT.
likely, and that's going to be basically game lock, right?
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah, it's over at that point.
I mean, it's over when everyone else is distributing NAT or mining NAT, but Foundry is just the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, so there's still time.
So if this is the first time you're hearing about NAT, I think the only thing you need to do, go to NatGMI, click on NAT paper, just read this. It'll take 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I know that reading is a less commonly thing done, or in fact, don't read it. Just send this to your agent, and then ask your agent, what do you think about this?
That's it? That's
it.
It's like, well, this could be propaganda for, some new terrorist organization. You should do some, more due diligence. Send me more links.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, check out this
YouTube podcast. Yeah.
Watch all their videos, dude.
Yeah.
Can it do that?
It could, yes.
It would take forever.
Yeah, because it has to transcribe everything. Or actually, YouTube does this transcription already, so you could it could do it.
Do we have a playlist for Nat, like on our channel?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Shit. Well, had we had a playlist for like Nat videos, we could you tell it to look at that playlist.
Yeah.
And then give me your assessment. And then from there, it should deduce we're not terrorists. Right?
We have no affiliation with North Korea whatsoever.
None. I enjoy Korean food. That's about it. That's the extent of
the connection.
My relationship.
Yeah. So through whatever means, just take a look at this.
Yeah.
All right. Finally, here we got NAT. It has a proper explorer. We got natexplorer.com. I think I have it here. And here it is, non-arbitrary token inscribed into Bitcoin, and it has the supply, the holders, and then the top holders. So the bridge holding 36 trillion, Foundry up there, Taproot Swap.
So this is kind of like Tapalytics a little bit?
A little bit where this is like the main headline, like the holders here, and then the recent activity.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I could see this expanding. I don't know, just to encompass more little data points here and there.
Yeah, I mean, this was just dropped like a day ago, so.
Yeah, so it's cool to see the community kind of step up and add more development wrinkles to this whole picture, this whole story.
Yeah, so shout out to Zook for putting this together.
Yes, thank you, Zook. And anybody else who figures out some other way to, contribute. It's not just, bull posting on X.
Yeah.
You could develop whole applications that utilize NAT in some novel way.
Yeah.
Whether it's like a metaverse application, it's like, hey, it takes this amount of NAT to
spawn a tree.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's kind of the culture we're trying to manifest, especially now with the platform we're launching here pretty soon. Hopefully this week.
Yes.
I know we've said that like for many weeks now.
Hopefully tomorrow, actually.
Holy Toledo's. Even better.
Yeah, so here it is, Net.fun. So the name is not a coincidence, right? There is a connection to the NAT token itself, but it also means non-arbitrary tokens. So
yeah, some people have criticized our name. It's like you're saying your platform's not fun. Right? Nat fun.
Yeah, it's NAT.fun.
Yeah,
it's either NAT.fun or it's NAT.fun.
Nat having fun.
Yeah,
have fun with Nat.
Right.
But yeah, like you're saying, it's NAT for a reason, very specific reason, right? And over time, new users probably won't get it off the rip, but all the OGs who've been paying attention, you will understand the alignment as soon as, things kind of get off the ground.
So this morning we had a Twitter space with Ornal's Wallet, and, we were talking about kind of like, what happened over the last weekend and, this thing exploding. And I was like, well, I think probably the most genius thing that we did was come up with NatSpeak. from a marketing perspective, I think that has been probably the key thing that really enables something like this.
I think so too. If you know that guy on X, the Goosenal guy, Block.
Yeah.
I think that might be the thing that swayed his heart, because now he's bull posting NAT. He's like,
yeah, he's saying I'm the reason it exploded. It's like,
yeah, it's quite hilarious to see people like that just live out their lives on X. But nonetheless, he started out like 4 days ago, a total NAT hater. He was like, it's a total scam.
Yeah,
you guys need to watch out. And then once he caught a hold of NAT speak, he started embracing the culture. He's like, holy shit, this is actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
And now he's up there posting charts of NAT, and he's like, he's saying the same things we're saying.
Yeah. And he said that he was the one who said that the NAT people were insufferable.
He gave us the new name.
Yeah,
the
and
NAT
then
sufferable
we
ones.
just flipped it. Yeah.
So I agree. NAT speak is great. But what does that have to do with?
I forget now.
Well, it's part of the culture that we want to brew, right? Hopefully.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, like once some of these projects and collections and stuff and tickers, whatever, start to launch from this platform, once it's live, I imagine a lot of it is going to have, NAT speak as part of like the cultural ingredient, right? Me, myself, I've always wanted to launch the coconuts, right?
Yeah.
So that's all NAT speak is, right? It's figuring out creative ways to inject NAT into traditional vocabulary.
Yeah, Elon just said he had a video of a rocket launching, one of his rockets. He said Ascension, and then I just put Natcension on there because Nat was launching too.
Why not, right?
Yeah.
Even though it really doesn't fit into that word at all. Natcension. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Make it work, dude. We're Emineming here.
Yeah,
we're word engineers.
Wordsmiths, yeah.
Wordsmiths, there you go.
All right, so we're looking at Net.fun, and there's a connection to the NAT token. So the connection is deep, where Net.fun is supposed to leverage the non-arbitrary aspects of Bitcoin and allow people to launch tokens against Bitcoin, but on a different chain called Solana. And in that platform, you're launching tokens, and it's on a bonding curve, and we call this a viability test. So you can come up with any project, a game, an art project, whatever it is that you want to come up with, launch a token, and if people like what your vibes, essentially, they'll graduate the token. And then upon graduation, because we're using the non-arbitrary aspect of Bitcoin, we're distributing NFTs to the token holders of that particular collection.
Yeah, they're NFTs, but in a much more like novel delivery system, right? They're unique non-arbitrary tokens in the form of Bitcoin blocks. Remember we talked about that's how NAT was created.
That's right.
And that's how it was distributed as a claim process for Bitcoin blocks. In this case, it's a distribution to the holders of the tokens, right? Assuming they hit a block out, meaning they graduated.
Yeah.
And all that is proof of like market demand, right? Therefore, it makes this collection, once it's distributed, it gives it a better starting point, because you went through kind of like that initial gauntlet of a test.
Mm-hmm.
If the market doesn't see value in what it is you're iterating on, they simply won't buy. Therefore, it's a good tell that you need to pivot past to some new iteration, right? Until you find what the market vibes with, and then boom, you're off to the races.
Yes.
Your collection, your assets, whatever, your brand, your IP, it's now much more marketable because it's gone through that viability screener, if you will.
Yeah, and the platform is actually pretty cool because as you're kind of updating your vibe, your project or whatever, the interface will show you kind of like the latest iterations of your project.
Yeah.
And so the idea is that if people can see the latest thing that you're working on, and if they like it, number will go up, it'll get closer to graduation. And if they don't like it, number will go down. And then whatever happens, the creator is generating some income to persist the project here. All right, so then what's the association with NAT? Well, as the platform pulls the patterns from Bitcoin in the form of digital matter, the platform is purchasing the NAT token, which ends up providing value to the Bitcoin miner, securing it, and then giving us more value in the form of DMT back into the distribution of creators here. So we have another one here. NAT is fairly launched, token created. So we have in our Twitter account, one of our pinned tweet is the very beginning of DMT, the very beginning, which launched with NAT. And so if you ever wanted to see what it looks like to launch a $100 million token 2 years ago, just watch that video.
It's true. That is quite the origin story. So it's all documented again, archived. And yeah, there's been a period of already like explosive, I don't know what you
Yeah.
would call it, just
Like explosive periods with Nat Cats and
Yeah.
Royals,
yeah, and the bitmap community.
Bitmap, yeah.
All these things are examples of or iterations of non-arbitrary creation, right?
Yeah,
And they-
AKA the new thing in crypto.
Right. Yeah, and they all originated from Bitcoin L1 ecosystem, right? The layer 1, you know, this was like a breakthrough in 2023, 2024, right?
Yeah.
It has, you know, declined since then, but you know, we think this can kind of kickstart and reinvigorate things once again for
Yeah.
this ecosystem.
For the whole ecosystem, bitmap, UNATs, all the stuff. All right, so new NAT token is produced every time the block gets mined. In early 25, the production line of new NAT tokens was directed to the Bitcoin miners. So we're going through the history here. And what did the miner redirect happen, or why did it happen? Because DMT assets are developed on the security of Bitcoin in order to maintain the integrity of their non-arbitrary token properties. If Bitcoin ever gets compromised due to low security, that means the data layer is in jeopardy.
Yeah, so that's why it's essentially for NAT to serve as this second subsidy, right? Because if you don't, Bitcoin is forever subjected to this, you know, problem.
Yeah.
That, you know, the 4-year emissions are being cut in half.
Yep. Exponential decay.
Yeah, and the price assumption that Bitcoin has to exponentially grow
Right.
is illogical, right? So
Yeah.
therefore, there's a teetering problem here.
Yep. That's right.
So more subsidy values to the miners is a good thing, especially for us, because again, we're fundamentally anchoring everything that's being manifested in a digital sense to the data layer of Bitcoin. So
Yeah.
that cannot be tampered with. It cannot be broken. That whole thing needs to be maintained.
Yep. Yep. And the way you maintain that is by buying the NAT token, because that directly feeds back to the security layer of Bitcoin, which is the reason you buy Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
There is no other reason, right? So, so there's several projects do this. This isn't the first time. Several projects buy their asset and to kind of support the ecosystem itself. And so we're going to be doing the same thing.
Yeah. So this is just a visualization of what that will look like.
Yeah. So basically, revenue on the platform, a portion of it goes to buy NAT.
Yeah.
And it's going to go into the treasury here.
Yeah, and eventually it's going to be a programmatic process that will be just like that. There'll be a nice little widget or a tool just to see it happening in real time.
Yep. So this mechanism creates a never-before-seen flywheel between two power communities, one aligned with the preservation of Bitcoin network by supporting NAT, and the other in proliferating DMT and the non-arbitrary token as a new creator primitive that brings NFTs back into the crypto mix. So all this is to bring NFTs back. And NFTs are really dead. They're sort of coming back a little bit in a way. I mean, I see some Bored Apes going up like 30% or something like that.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if that's back.
No, it's definitely not back.
Back is whenever people are creating new stuff again.
Yeah,
new
when
NFTs.
Paris Hilton is back with NFTs, that's when we're back, dude.
That's when you really know. Hell yeah.
Yeah, so the takeaway is simple. If you're not much of a trencher and don't want to go deep into the Net.fun weeds once we launch, but still believe in the vision of DMT, just buy NAT and chill.
Yeah.
The creator economy will be activating here shortly, and we'll do the rest.
Like a natty, dude.
Look at that.
It's getting high, dude. Looking natty, dude. What a degenerate he is.
Is that DMT here? What is this? Just
it's whatever your heart desires, dude. But he's definitely chilling. And this could be you. So yeah, all you do is buy NAT and you're soaking it all in, right?
Yeah.
It's a good feeling, I'm sure.
Yeah, so
or you don't want, if you want to be more active, participate once this platform is live, because again, that's another way to contribute to the growth of NAT itself, because it's a perpetual loop and a system that's designed to reinforce, again, that substrate layer built into Bitcoin, because everything is rooted to that.
Yeah.
So that's what we're about. That's like our whole mission, our whole ethos, and we're building like a community and an alignment to that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And we're hopefully, if it works out, we'll do a little bit to repair the image of crypto, right? Because I think this brings a little bit more of like an inspiring tinge to how we should do things on chain, right?
I couldn't agree more.
As opposed to just, what was that thing we heard today? It's like somebody rugged, what was it called?
Oh, ASDAC.
Somebody,
James
James
Wynn,
Wynn
yeah.
launched ASDAC, rugged it, and then created a dump token or something.
Yeah, created dump token.
Yeah, that's crypto. That's what arbitrary crypto, the state
Yeah.
of things.
That's right.
Let's clean things up, and let's please, for the sake of our own sanity,
Yeah.
let's not like ASDAC it up, guys. Let's create like
Some substance.
Substance, yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for us. If you guys have any questions on the NAT token, let us know in the comment section below. Be sure to follow our Twitter account, especially Net.fun account and the Blockrunner account. That's when we'll make the announcement that this thing is live. So appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.
Peace.